In November of 2015, heavyweight boxing saw the end of an era. The decade-long reign of the Klitschko name made way for a new age of young, fresh hopefuls. And over the course of the next 5 years, the most lucrative division in boxing underwent its latest renaissance.
Let's go! Let's go!
But in the midst of this revival, no two heavyweights captured the public's interest more so than Tyson Fury and Anthony Joshua. Harnessed by unique personalities and Titan-like abilities, the two powered through obstacles in and out of the ring to reach the current apex moment of their careers.
The Gypsy King has returned!
Between them, they hold every notable world title in the division, and only by colliding in the squared circle can they provide the answers to the most burning question in boxing. Who is the undisputed king of the heavyweights?
It's about the legacy and the belt. Whoever's got the belt, I'd love to compete with them. If that is Tyson Fury, let it be Tyson Fury. It's no big deal.
And in anticipation of their monster showdown this summer, we take a look at the respective journeys of both Tyson Fury and Anthony Joshua, and why their unification bout could end up being the biggest event in British boxing history. When Tyson Fury was first unveiled as a professional fighter in 2008, his dangly 6'9" frame seemed antithetical to the modern-day heavyweight.
Ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome heavyweight sensation Tyson Fury!
But underneath lurked a talent that could only be detected by the trained eye of promoter Mick Hennessy, who had already unearthed a number of world-level fighters.
Tyson Fury is the best prospect in world boxing, and he is going to shake up the heavyweight division like it hasn't been shaken up.
Over the next 2 years, the Gypsy Giant would be showcased up and down the country, building a steady stream of back-to-back stoppage victories.
It's been stopped by the referee.
Hey, this kid will take anybody on, anybody.
Ability-wise, I'm 5 times better than anyone in the world at the moment. Anybody, it goes anyone. They're big as me, but they're not as fast. They've got no movement. They're like robotic, as it said. And if I could do the distance, the 12 threes, no problem, I'll be able to beat them now.
His impressive run of form eventually led to a competitive encounter against John McDermott, in which Fury picked up his first professional title.
Will that seal the victory? Terry O'Connor gives it to Tyson Fury! Wow, wow, wow!
And any doubts that remained over that victory were firmly put to rest in the rematch, with an emphatic 9th round TKO.
And down he goes! Will he get up again? 4 times now, Fury 3 times, and it is over! And it is Tyson Fury's night. This time, he does get it right.
There was a lot of things here against me tonight, and a lot of people thought I was going to lose.
Tell us how much this win means to you.
For believing in me, get me the fights.
No sparring at all.
Are you ready for the British title next?
I want everybody. I want them all. Every heavyweight in this country, because I know I can do it.
By 2011, Tyson Fury was ready to raise the stakes and challenge for the British Heavyweight Championship against fellow undefeated prospect Derek Chisora.
And the fight is stopped. Derek Chisora is crowned British heavyweight champion.
I will put my full purse on it that I can beat this guy. If he beats me, I'll give him my purse. I'll walk across the ring, I'll kiss his 2 feet. That's how confident I am.
You can feel the tension in that ring between these two fighters.
It was expected to be the biggest test to date in Fury's career, and Chisora, intent on retaining his British title, armed himself with an aggressive approach from the onset, and in the second round stunned Fury with a left hook.
Down to take this, but he's caught Fury with the left hand there. Fury in trouble for the first time in the fight. And Chisora following it up. Another right from Chisora. Fury took that one off, but he's in trouble there, Fury.
But thereafter, Fury's physical prowess and boxing ability would shine through and dominate the remaining rounds to earn a unanimous points victory.
It is
In just 15 fights, overcoming obstacles in and out of the ring, Tyson Fury and his team were forcing their rivals to accept that, for now, at British level, heavyweight boxing belonged in his grasp.
Where have you been this afternoon? You've been down in East London at Johnny Eames's gym, haven't you?
And I went down to Finchley Boxing Club.
Okay.
And I sparred with the ABA champion.
Oh, Anthony Joshua?
Yeah, he's red hot, him.
He's a good prospect, isn't he?
Oh, he's very good, to be honest with you. For him to put up a good performance like that against a top prospect in me, I think he's one for the future.
Just as Tyson Fury was securing his domestic reign in the pro ranks, a young Anthony Joshua was powering through the amateur scene, in a bid to represent Great Britain at the 2012 Olympics. And in sharp contrast to his future British rival was the prototypical heavyweight boxer, adored by coaches and media alike.
I first saw him in those ABAs in 2010, sort of looming out of the corner, this sort of massive super heavyweight.
Where Tyson Fury had been shunned by the powers that be, Anthony Joshua was being groomed for superstardom. His celebrity-like qualities were on immediate display, and the grand stage was set at the 2012 London Olympics for him to achieve the dream set out for him.
There was a lot of pressure on him going into the Olympics. People knew the name.
Every single session of every single day for the London Olympics was sold out. The noise level was incredible.
With the gold medal secured, so too was the ideal launchpad for a lucrative career in the paid ranks.
No, it was a real coup for us and something I was very pleased with and proud of when we got his signature.
And in October of 2013, his professional career had officially begun.
Here he is, the great new hope of British boxing.
A TKO victory in under 3 minutes set forth an unbreakable trend of entertaining and often devastating knockouts. Before long, Joshua would rack up a 14-fight win streak and face his first acid test against another undefeated prospect. In Dillian Whyte, Joshua found an all-too-familiar rival. 6 years prior, the two fought as amateurs, where Joshua was forced to taste the canvas en route to a points loss. And thus began a bitter relationship that simmered into the professional ranks.
Forget boxing. I don't like this guy. And if I met him in the street, I will iron him up. Your heart will fail you. Trust me. Let everybody get the room now. Me and you stay in here, we can have it. And see who walks out.
The hostilities from the build-up carried into the ring, and any intricacies of the sweet science instilled in the gold medalist were exchanged in favour for an old-fashioned street fight. The second round continued the momentum of the first, with Joshua stamping his assertiveness. But in doing so, his over-eagerness also made him experience his first moment of crisis in the professional ring.
Whyte can certainly take a punch, and he shook Joshua. Joshua's hurt. Joshua's in big trouble. Massive turnaround here.
Dillian Whyte's determined ruggedness was asking questions of Joshua that no other professional opponent had dared, and for the first time in his career was being taken past the third round. But soon, Joshua restored the pressure he was applying earlier in the fight and began unloading heavy artillery to finish the contest in the 7th round.
Surely no way up here for Dillian Whyte. It's over.
An electrifying victory in front of a packed London O2 Arena demonstrated Joshua's box office potential, and as a prelude of things to come, secured the British heavyweight title that Tyson Fury, just weeks prior, had vacated in favour of a more historic feat.
All the talk of greatness, well, I'm big, I'm good, and I train hard, so there's nothing stopping me from going to the top.
Just 2 weeks before the most significant win of Joshua's career, Tyson Fury was on the verge of inflicting the most devastating result on the heavyweight division in 10 years, and validate the bold predictions held by his faithful promoter.
I've always felt that this was Tyson's destiny. When I first signed him, and I thought, this kid's got something very, very special. If we do the right things together, we can go all the way to the pinnacle of sport, the heavyweight title.
A long, arduous route towards a shot at the world title was pursued, and the politics that existed in the infant years of Fury's career continued to plague him.
Do you know if people think you're a traveller, like they tend not to like you, or they won't support you, or things like that? And to be honest, it's hurtful because you just get shut out from the world. And it's not very nice, to be honest, so I've been keeping it hush, but what you are, you can't hide, can you? A leopard can't change his spots, so I'm not going to try and be something I'm not. I'm going to be proud of what I am.
In 2013, Fury took his first step up to world level when he fought the American Steve Cunningham. It was his first fight on US soil, and one in which the former cruiserweight champion would deliver him a second-round scare.
According to CompuBox, Fury, he's knocked down! He's knocked down! Cunningham has floored Fury!
In a fight where American audiences were being given their first ever glimpse of the Gypsy Warrior, Fury utilised all of his natural advantages to not only recover, but eventually wear down and manhandle Cunningham to a 7th-round knockout.
Steve's almost done here, look at this.
Oh, there's another coming and he's down. Cunningham is knocked down by Fury.
Dominant stoppage victories ensued, including a repeat against Derek Chisora, this time retiring him in the 10th round.
The undefeated Tyson Fury!
A flawless victory over Christian Hammer then finally sealed Fury's eligibility to challenge for the greatest prize in boxing.
The reigning unified heavyweight champion of the world, the Weltmeister, Dr. Scale Hammer, Vladimir Klitschko.
For an entire decade, the heavyweight division had been under the ironclad rule of Vladimir Klitschko, who had the WBO, WBA and IBF titles in his possession. And against Tyson Fury, the Ukrainian would be making the 19th defense of his throne. Two polar opposite personalities. The charming exemplar of a champion versus the dissident, self-anointed Gypsy King.
Never fought a Gypsy King before, have you? You never fought a king before. You're looking at one here, pal, me. Listen, I'm the man in these shorts, me. No Joshuas, no Chisoras, there's no other heavyweights apart from me. There only ever has been me.
He can be the champion, he can be the one who people want to be, people look up to, the role model. The guy's a good-looking guy, clean-shaven, a nice hairdo, snappy suit. Total opposite the Richter scale is this. Hairy face, ugly, bald head. Happening. But the difference is, he's been made to look like that. Everything he does is manufactured. Everything I do is natural, off the cuff. Nobody tells me what to do. Nobody sticks a key in my back and turns it. I do myself. I wake up in the morning and I do what I want to do. Myself, because I'm my own man. And when it comes to on that night, I think their world will change because they'll have the most charismatic, the most colourful, the most controversial champion since Muhammad Ali. And that's what the world's been waiting for. And if I ain't the man to fill them boots, they'll be waiting a hell of a long time more, because all I see is robots, people being turned and told what to say. So the world needs me to change the landscape of the division, not a yes man for nobody.
Tyson Fury's dream fight against the legendary Vladimir Klitschko had finally arrived. However, the complexities involved in staging such a fight continued right up until the very day of the event.
So, Fraser, I believe there's been more controversy surrounding the fight this morning.
By chance, uncle and trainer Peter Fury and promoter Mick Hennessy decided to make a casual visit to the venue, only to make a bizarre discovery that threatened to scupper the entire event.
Do we want the millions of fans around the world? Do they want an accident down to this canvas, or do they want to fight? Normally you control everything. You're trying to control this, but it's not in the interest of health and safety. So we need it sorted.
The additional layers of foam placed under the canvas made for an unusual soft surface, which Team Fury argued to be a serious health hazard. Persistence from Fury's promoter and trainer forced Team Klitschko to comply, and the layers of foam were removed. The fight was on. and an army of 55,000 fans packed the Dusseldorf Arena to witness their adopted hometown hero make another routine defense of his titles. However, for all his experience at the top of the sport, Klitschko's discomfort against a surprisingly fluid opponent of the same size proved difficult to overcome. The constant movement, the switching of stances, and an ever-present jab subdued the heavyweight champion throughout the entire 12 rounds. And despite a desperate late surge from the Ukrainian, the heavyweight division was about to finally experience a changing of the guard.
From the United Kingdom.
Tyson Fury, against all odds on foreign soil, had toppled one of the most dominant heavyweight regimes of the sport and achieved a lifelong dream that only a faithful few had supported him in.
Since 2008, I've had to go against the tide, go against the grain. Everyone throwing spanners in the works, everyone writing us off, broadcasters telling me he's nowhere near as good as I think he is. They would have jumped on any heavyweight rather than Tyson. And I couldn't believe it, I couldn't understand it, I couldn't get my head around it because I know my boxing, I understand it.
In the lead up to this unparalleled achievement, Tyson Fury took great pride in swimming against the tide and playing the pantomime villain. And along the way, there did remain hope that upon victory, the world would eventually embrace him. But that honour never came.
I'd like people to get to know the real Tyson Fury, behind all the bravado, behind all the tongue-in-cheek, behind the person trying to sell fights and sell tickets.
Conquering the unconquerable in the ring would do nothing to protect him from the trappings of the outside world that instead chose to withhold its praise. And in 2016, undergoing numerous personal problems, Tyson Fury turned his back from the sport, and his world titles were scattered across the division. In his absence, the heavyweight landscape sat in unfamiliar territory. A new wave of energized contenders had emerged, cherishing the newfound opportunity to claim the #1 spot. One name in particular was America's bronze bomber Deontay Wilder. A frightening, one-punch knockout artist who had already taken possession of the WBC title a year earlier. His potential star power was just as noticeable, and accordingly was being primed for a future blockbuster showdown with Britain's new golden boy.
Let's react, shall we, to the fact that Tyson Fury is heavyweight champion of the world. Did you watch it? What did you think of the outcome?
I watched it, of course. The outcome is something that no one's achieved in 10 years. He's heavyweight champion of the world, something that I'm destined to do myself. Credit to him, and it's changed the division. The division's lit up, and I just got to follow suit and wait for my chance to open up, and so I can come through and dominate at some stage.
2 weeks after Fury's shock defeat of Klitschko, Anthony Joshua enjoyed the most important win of his career. And with the British Heavyweight Championship captured, he was immediately awarded with the golden opportunity of fighting for one of Tyson Fury's deserted world titles, which sat in the possession of the undefeated Charles Martin.
I walk this earth like a god. I'm a world champion now, and I'm gonna keep it. She's staying right there. Me, ain't going nowhere.
The American's self-belief turned out to be no match for Anthony Joshua's precision and power. Two identical counter right hands were enough to dispatch the title holder in just 2 rounds, and the former gold medalist became the new IBF heavyweight champion. With one world title secured, the next phase of Project Joshua was to navigate him towards the other belts. And in December of 2016, just 1 year after Tyson Fury's upset of Vladimir Klitschko, it was announced that Anthony Joshua would be given the same assignment.
I'd like to officially announce Anthony Joshua against Vladimir Klitschko at Wembley Stadium for the Unified Heavyweight Championship of the World.
The unusual manner in which the Ukrainian lost his titles, coupled with Fury's unexpected departure from the sport, meant there was still a semblance of prestige in Vladimir Klitschko's name. As such, any hope of propelling Anthony Joshua's name as the premier heavyweight in the game would require the complete vanquishing of the Ukrainian legend. The fight was scheduled for April 2017 at Wembley Stadium, in front of a post-war record crowd of 90,000 fans. The stunning spectacle symbolized the pinnacle of Anthony Joshua's rapid-fire career, and everything his team had set out to achieve would rest on the events of this once-in-a-lifetime heavyweight duel. Both men entered the ring with reputations of explosive punching power, and it wouldn't be until the 5th round that Joshua would draw first blood. But as sudden as Joshua's assault may have been, so too was Klitschko's defiance. Emerging as the more confident, rejuvenated fighter in the 6th round, he found the range to deliver a crumpling right hand through the middle. By now, Klitschko's superiority in experience and skill began emerging through the cracks, and his renowned ability for dictating the pace of a fight with his favoured jab was becoming the theme. However, in the midst of his meticulous approach, prowled an opportunity for Joshua to spring a comeback. 4 rounds had passed since touching the canvas, and by now, the young champion had developed a second wind. And in a last throw of the dice, exploded in the 11th round to catch Klitschko unaware. It was a fight for the ages, cheered on by an adoring public. And now, the unified WBA and IBF world champion, Anthony Joshua had emerged triumphant on the biggest stage of his career, and morphed himself into the bona fide superstar his team had set out to create. Packed stadiums were again filled in successive fights, and the WBO trinket was added to his belt collection when he defeated the unbeaten Joseph Parker. This was quickly followed by an entertaining stoppage victory over the hard-hitting Russian, Alexander Povetkin. By the close of 2018, and just 5 short years as a professional, Anthony Joshua had swept aside most of the division's top contenders and seized 3 out of the 4 major world titles. But for every advancing step Joshua made in his career, Tyson Fury's was sinking into its darkest period.
You don't like it, change the station. You don't like it, don't take photos. You don't like it, don't print it in your newspaper. Do I care? Not really.
The public recognition from the Klitschko win failed to match the heights of the accomplishment itself. And Fury's descent into weight gain and depression coincided with the simultaneous rise of 2 significant rivals, who were being primed for a mega showdown to unify all of the world titles.
Negotiations are ongoing, shall we say, between yourselves and Deontay Wilder for a fight with Anthony Joshua.
Fury, it would seem, was the forgotten man. Ballooning to an astonishing 25 stone in weight, he had been relegated to nothing more than mere taunts on social media.
This is the message to Big Anthony Joshua. I don't need to get fit for somebody like you. I could come to you and I'll punch all your face right in for you.
But by the summer of 2017, in the face of Joshua's high-profile win over Klitschko and Wilder's impressive stream of knockouts, Tyson Fury began the initial stages of his comeback.
So we're going to do about an 8-miler this morning, ready to blow the weight. Well, after a bit of morning training, I didn't make 8 mile. I done about 30 minutes, no lying. Then I started walking. I finally had enough. I can't be avoided and put back to the curb anymore. You know, I'm here, I'm willing and I'm ready to fight. Not one of the current heavyweights at the moment could ever be considered the man of their era, unless they beat me.
It would take more than a year of mental and physical rehabilitation, and in June of 2018, almost 3 years since the peak of his powers, Fury made his official return to the ring.
BT, you ready for the return of the Mac? All you patient viewers out there, been 2 years and 8 months in the making. Who's ready for a war?
As expected, the ring rust was on clear display, and it was evident from his physique alone that Fury's full restoration was far from complete. The quick 4-round victory was immediately followed by another tune-up fight, giving the former champion more time to reduce his weight. This time, the opponent did his required duty and took Fury the necessary distance.
And still undefeated, Tyson Fury!
Despite the incremental improvements, the general consensus still remained that he was not yet ready to challenge the division's best. But in a surprise announcement that encapsulated his unpredictable character, Fury's next opponent was revealed.
Well, let's bring in the man holding that coveted green strap, the undefeated WBC heavyweight champion of the world.
Undeterred by the sport's cynics, and still readjusting to being a full-time fighter, Fury was making an audacious attempt at the most dangerous puncher in the game.
Listen, anytime, any place, anywhere, I'll fight you in your back garden like I've done Klitschko. I'll beat you, you bum. You're a bum. That was a 10-8 round, that one. Should have been 3-0, but I put him down out there, so it was a 10-8 round.
Not only was this a statement to remind the world of his rightful place in the division, but it seemed a tactical move to steal a lucrative fight from under the nose of his British rival.
He's got no guts. He didn't want to fight Deontay Wilder, so he took me, the Gypsy King, to step in.
But despite this, the media's ingrained habit of de-emphasizing Fury's pursuit of Wilder still remained, and a future Joshua versus Wilder fight continued to be the focal point.
Deontay, isn't this fight more about Anthony Joshua than it is about Tyson Fury?
If you win or lose, Anthony Joshua has said he wants to fight, win or lose. Do you take that fight?
Ignoring all outside distractions, Tyson Fury remained steadfast in capturing the only world title missing from his collection. And in December of 2018, the two finally met in the ring.
12 rounds of boxing in a showdown of heavyweight giants.
Any concerns of the underdog lacking the required sharpness to compete at a championship level were soon erased. Much like his performance against Klitschko, his unorthodox style and superior footwork dictated the theme of the fight. 2/3 of the fight had passed, with Fury barely putting a foot wrong.
Wilder, for me, has been outboxed in this fight so far.
But if Wilder's knockout record was to teach anything, it would be that whatever the circumstances, there was always his game-changing power to contend with.
Oh, he's gone down! He's gone down!
Though Fury would quickly recover and remain competitive in the subsequent rounds, the knockdown was a foreshadowing of the American's fierce equalizer. And in the opening minute of the 12th round, he again failed to evade Wilder's sudden burst of attack.
Oh, and down he goes! Right hand, left hand, and I don't think he's going to get up!
This time, the champion's timing was more precise.
I think it's all over! I think it's over! Is he going to get up?
In a perfect metaphor of his troubled life outside the ring, Fury's fine form in the fight came to a crashing halt. Or so it appeared.
Can he get up? Can he get up? He does! Oh my goodness! Somehow Fury has managed to get up!
Tyson Fury's resurrection was complete.
Fury, how did he get up from that? I thought that was all over.
Although the official result was declared a disappointing draw, the boxing world had witnessed the remarkable comeback of a once destitute champion. His latest exploits had again changed the entire landscape of the division, and a once lucrative showdown between Joshua and Wilder had been relegated to nothing more than a side piece.
That's the second best heavyweight in the world behind me.
Now, the only heavyweight fight that the public were demanding was the Fury versus Wilder rematch to settle unfinished business. The long-established belief in boxing has been that to make it to the tallest heights of the sport, a fighter must break the American market.
Never mind anybody. Me and this man here is the two best heavyweights on the planet. There's another third heavyweight out there. All right, what? Chicken! Joshua, where are you? Where are you, AJ? AJ!
Tyson Fury's dramatic world title attempt against Deontay Wilder had strengthened his profile across the Atlantic. And the challenge for Anthony Joshua to do the same had been accepted. His target was Brooklyn-born Jarrell Miller.
I'm freaking home! Remember I told you that! You ain't gonna beat me in jokes. You ain't gonna beat me in talking. Say it then! Shut up. You know why?
As the bold, trash-talking villain, Miller provided the ideal opponent for Joshua to launch his brand in the States. An emphatic statement in this fight would reinstate the Britain's name in the Wilder and Fury stakes.
Once you sign a contract, it's bad blood. The minute you put your name on that piece of paper, you're a piece of meat to me.
The backdrop for Joshua's grand arrival was the iconic Madison Square Garden in New York. However, 6 weeks before the planned date, the event took a blow with a newfound revelation.
Only one place to start, isn't there? Early this morning, the news that broke that Anthony Joshua's next challenger, Jarrell Miller, was found to have adverse results from a VADA drug test last month. AJ's opponent on the 1st of June is now in question.
A sudden change of opponent was required, and the loud, boisterous Miller was replaced by a polite, unassuming Mexican-American by the name of Andy Ruiz Jr.
I don't really like to talk shit, but I usually talk shit in the ring, you know? You know, I don't have nothing bad to say about AJ. Of course, right now I'm a fan of his. You know, I have respect for him. And those belts look really shiny, really good, man.
But beyond the soft exterior dwelled a gritty Mexican spirit with deceptively quick hands. "19,000 fans packed out the famous New York arena to see the arrival of one of boxing's biggest stars. And in the third round, the Briton began delivering on their expectations with a stunning left hook. One of the best finishers in the game, Joshua's perfect landing on American shores was near. However, preoccupied by the glamour fights ahead, the astonishing events that were unfolding in the present were overlooked. Stunned by the challenger's disguised resilience, Joshua endured 3 more rounds of progressive punishment before succumbing to Ruiz's relentless attacks in the 7th.
His dream debut turning into a nightmare! Andy Ruiz Jr. has so much time left in this, the 7th round.
The 25-to-1 underdog produced one of the biggest shocks in heavyweight history and destroyed all of the division's proposed plotlines. 3 of the major 4 world titles were now in the hands of a new heavyweight world champion.
The new unified heavyweight champion of the world! Unbelievable, Adam. He's chubby, he's baby-faced, but he can fight, and he proved it.
Intense speculation and frenzy around the loss ensued.
No, I'm good.
Unverified rumours of a panic attack in the dressing room, as well as an alleged concussion suffered in training camp, were the leading contenders as fans searched for an explanation. And his rivals wasted no time in vocalising their observations.
You know, Joshua coming over here the first time in America, he's been built up and boosted up in height. I would have felt embarrassed. You know, he quit. The guy gave up in the ring.
I didn't see anything through round 1 or 7 to suggest that Joshua had won a round. He was beat up, and then he quit.
But ever the consummate professional, Joshua rejected all speculation and immediately commissioned for the rematch.
The rematch clause was triggered last night in New York, and they're going to go straight back into the fire. They want the belts back.
The sequel would take place 6 months after the events of the first, with the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia winning the rights to host. And the new backdrop brought with it a comforting escape from the harrowing experiences of New York. But despite this, concerns still remained as to whether Joshua had given himself enough time to recover psychologically.
But I think even in a rematch he'll lose again. Styles make fights, and I think Andy Ruiz's style is all wrong for him.
Others have come out and said he should change his team, he should bring different people in.
You favoured Andy Ruiz to do it again. What are you thinking about it?
And, you know, my answer hasn't changed. I really believe Andy's going to go in there and do it again.
Joshua, however, retained faith in both his abilities and his team. Together, they embarked on a detailed overhaul of their fight game and entered the ring in a noticeably slimmer, lighter frame. A sharp contrast to the new champion, who weighed almost 50 pounds heavier. The Britain's game plan was clear: box on the back foot and resist all temptations for a brawl. Where the first fight festered into an uncontrollable firefight, the rematch took the opposite course. Poised and on high alert, Joshua took full advantage of Ruiz's passiveness as he boxed his way to a safe 12-round decision. At just 237 pounds, Joshua's weight had been the lowest in 5 years. An agile, more energetic fighter had emerged from the broken man 6 months prior.
Man, the first time was so nice, I had to do it twice.
3 of the 4 major world titles were back in his grasp, and once again, the boxing world would renew its interest in the biggest fight of the division.
Because he's the king. He's the king. No, you are the king. You are. They wrote you off. They wrote you off. They said you were hype. You come back, you schooled him, and you're the king again. Trust me.
In the 7 months between Fury's heroics against Wilder and Joshua's shocking loss to Ruiz, the roles of the two fighters were dramatically reversed. One plunged into the biggest crisis of his career, whilst the other enjoyed a miraculous rebirth. Tyson Fury's night of salvation against Deontay Wilder failed to deliver an official victory.
Split decision draw.
But it did secure a lucrative deal with an American broadcaster and promoter.
And God bless America! The Gypsy King has returned!
Now, backed by ESPN and Top Rank, Fury began making serious strides in recovering all that he had lost 3 years earlier.
Where's Wilder at now, then?
His first objective was to correct the highly controversial decision against WBC champion Deontay Wilder.
But I still believe I won the fight, and I believe every man in here thought I won that fight tonight.
Most expected the rematch to take place immediately. But in an attempt to acquaint himself further with American audiences, Fury staged 2 preliminary fights against unknown opponents, the second of which turned out to be more competitive than anticipated.
And there is a cut over the right eye of Tyson Fury. Whether that's been done by a clash of heads, I'm not sure, but there is blood there coming from the right eyebrow of Fury.
Deontay Wilder, meanwhile, thrilled the boxing world with 2 spectacular knockouts in succession. Whatever damage to his reputation from the first Fury fight was momentarily repaired. The Bronze Bomber's power, it would seem, was as dangerous as ever, and many boxing observers still regarded him as the favourite for the rematch.
1, 2, 3, blood squad!
But despite Wilder's fine run of form, Tyson Fury was reaching almost 3 years into his comeback. Frequent training camps and carefully selected warm-up fights meant that the Gypsy King's fitness levels were back to their peak.
Next year we're going to hunt down Deontay Wilder and make him give me that green belt!
The rematch took place in Las Vegas on the 22nd of February 2020. And immediately from the opening bell, the tone of this fight was different to that of the first. A noticeably heavier Tyson Fury decided instead to force the fight against the champion.
His job has been to make the big man more aggressive, to put Wilder onto the back foot, and he starts well. Good right hand that was from Fury.
Under the assault of powerful jabs and right hands, Wilder struggled to gain a foothold in the fight. Consistently off balance and lacking any authority, the cracks began appearing as early as the third round, when Fury landed the first telling blow.
Good jabs again, and the right hand! Terrific shot from Fury!
And 2 minutes later, the exact same combination would send Wilder down to the canvas. Contrary to all expectations, the role of the power puncher in this fight belonged to Tyson Fury, with each punishing blow zapping the resistance from the champion.
Now into the fifth, and Wilder in trouble again! Big right hands from Fury! That right hand, and he looks so groggy in there, Wilder. I don't think he's got much left. And he's gone! He's gone, I tell you what! This fight is going to be all over!
Tyson Fury's both authoritative and masterful performance saw its conclusion midway through the 7th round, as he forced Wilder's corner to surrender.
Shot. Oh, right hand down the middle. They've thrown the towel in. The fight's all over. The fight's all over. They've thrown the towel in from the Wilder corner, and Tyson Fury is the heavyweight champion of the world.
Almost 5 years since his fall from grace, Tyson Fury had officially completed his comeback. Now the WBC heavyweight champion of the world, he was once again dominating the headlines and topping the heavyweight charts. The Gypsy King had finally reclaimed his throne. Rather fittingly, the impending clash between the two best heavyweights of today takes place on the 50th anniversary of Muhammad Ali versus Joe Frazier. That fight captured the hearts of boxing and non-boxing audiences alike, and undoubtedly is a tough act to follow. But if there is one characteristic that Fury versus Joshua can share with that fight, is that it attempts to settle one of the hottest debates that takes place in the sport. No other division demands the attention of mainstream audiences like the heavyweight division. And with every world title on the line, Tyson Fury versus Anthony Joshua will prove once and for all the undisputed champion of the world.